Welcome back to the channel, Gran Turismo fans. I want to have a talk about how to find race pace and how to also ultimately improve your race pace. So specifically we're talking there about how to find the race pace that you are already capable of but probably feel like you're not achieving, and then ultimately how to improve your race pace as well. There is a pitfall in Gran Turismo 7, a trap that is unique to Gran Turismo 7, if you will, that in my opinion, from my experience, 90% of people fall into, and it seriously hurts your race pace. And this is probably the single biggest mistake you can make in your journey in Gran Turismo 7 if your goal is sport mode and optimizing your performance within sport mode. So we're going to talk about that. Short version, if you're someone who feels that your race pace doesn't match what you're capable of in time trial, if you are someone who feels like they set competitive time trial laps for your respective driver rank and then doesn't perform consistently well enough in the race, this video is for you. I am talking directly to that demographic of people, which I happen to know is the vast majority of people. So why did I decide to do this video this week? Well, a couple of reasons I was inspired to do this video this week. First one was over the weekend I stumbled across a video on YouTube from a pretty unknown content creator. I'm going to give him a shout out actually because I know he'll be watching this video. So Neil Scuba D Sim Racer is the channel. Neil, people like you are who I've got in mind. It was great to watch your video and see your progress. And I know we had a little bit of a chat in the comments, and this is something that I didn't say in the comments. It's obviously too lengthy, but watching your video inspired me to put this into a video, this topic into a video. The second reason that I did it this week is because my live reaction, waking up Monday morning and seeing Nurburgring Group 1, went something along the lines of, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me." Right, okay, so there we go. That's how I feel about the Nurburgring, and that's how I feel about the Nurburgring in Group 1. So I have never, in fact, raced the Nurburgring, period. When I was a lower ranked driver, I avoided it, as a lot of lower ranked drivers do. If there is one track that is excusable to avoid, it's probably this one, but I am definitely going to be dwelling quite a bit actually on whether you should avoid tracks you don't like. And the second reason has got a lot to do with health issues. So in the past year, when I've been quicker, then health has played a lot into which tracks I've been able to actually focus on and get better at. Let me know if a video about managing chronic health condition with sim racing and life responsibilities in general would be something of interest to you guys. Let me know in the comments if it would. There is a lot more to say than what you do already know, but most of that video, if I ever did it, wouldn't be actually about sim racing. It would be about how I manage things so that I can sim race, and then how it affects me in sim racing. I've no idea if that would be of interest to the community, so let me know if that would work. But yeah, so in the past year, the more principal reason that I haven't raced the Nurburgring is just pot luck, what races come up when I am feeling healthy enough to really try hard those races. So that left me in a situation where I am distinctly lacking pace here at the Nurburgring. What I don't know is I don't know the track intimately. I don't know it at the level I need to know it. This is the same situation that we had with the Bathurst video that you may have watched a while back, only this is times 10 worse because, well, it's the Nurburgring, right? Yeah, no further explanation needed. So it did seem like an appropriate time, inspired by Neil's video, seeing Nurburgring Group 1, it did seem like an appropriate time to have this conversation about how to find race pace, because my sum total experience of the Nurburgring probably comes down to doing the circuit experience when I was a high B driver, which traumatized me, I think, and probably had a lot to do with why I never bothered racing it. I've never raced it in sport mode, I've never try-hard time trialed it in sport mode. I just know which way the turns go and where the basic brake markers is because of having done that circuit experience. So, okay, let's move on then. Just a quick comment about the race unfolding ahead of you. Manuel Rodri started on pole and chose to drop back a few places. He's got incredible pace here. Roslin in front of us is using the Toyota. I'm using the Audi. The Audi is much better in the corners. The Toyota is much better in the power zones, much better straight line speed. That's why it appears that I have a very easy time staying with him in the corners, and then in the power zones, despite the custom slip, he still manages to pull away. Incognito behind us is a driver I don't think I've raced before, but turned out to be very clean, very quick, very respectful. You'll see that later on in the race, so pleasure to race with you, Incognito, if you happen to be watching this. Getting back to the topic at hand, what's this big pitfall then? What is this big trap that, in my opinion, is the #1 mistake you can make if sport mode and progression in sport mode is your focus? That pitfall, that trap, you already know what it is. It is spending too much time in time trialing. Or more accurately, how much time you spend time trialing versus how much time you spend racing. So there's nothing wrong with a 4-hour time trial session. If you use that time wisely, if you walk away from it a fundamentally better driver, then that's not time wasted. I did a video recently, it's become affectionately known as the time trialing video when people reference it to me, but essentially it was how you use a ghost in time trial, or how I use a ghost in time trial. We touched more in detail on that subject in that video, so go give it a watch if you want the detailed version. But essentially, if your time trialing time is productive, analytical, structured, and you walk away from it a fundamentally better, faster driver, having learned things that you can apply at other tracks, then that 4 hours in time trial was not wasted time. We're not going to elaborate any more on that in this video. That's not the topic for this video. The topic for this video is how much time you spend time trialing versus how much time you spend racing. So that brings up the question, why is that a huge pitfall? Why is it a massive trap that will detrimentally hurt your race pace? The main reason is time trialing pace does not directly translate to race pace, and there are several reasons for that, so let's cover those reasons. Time trialing usually has equal conditions on, which means you're not dealing with changing air temperature or changing track temperature, and therefore varying grip levels. You are not dealing with tyre wear, you are not dealing with changing fuel loads, you are not dealing with other cars around you, you are not having to think about your situational awareness and your race strategy, overtakes, etc. There is simply so much more multitasking going on in the race than there is in time trialing, and therefore that affects your race pace. And perhaps the biggest thing that affects your race pace is the very fact that it's a race and not a time trial. You're not on your own, you're not calm, you're experiencing nerves, anxiety, fear, and that's the root cause of people spending too much time in time trialing, and I'm guilty of this myself. That's the root cause of people spending far too much time in time trialing. It is a fundamental fear of racing that you conclude you can solve by getting fast in time trial. It doesn't work, it never works. If you ask yourself what normally happens if you go racing after spending a lengthy amount of time in time trialing, you will normally find that your races go badly. I was guilty of this when I started Gran Turismo 7, and it stayed with me. It wasn't a problem I got on top of, it wasn't a bad habit that I broke until I was already an A+ driver. So I see people on YouTube comments saying this, I see people in Discord saying this, I see people in coaching saying this is an extremely common problem, that people can set decent qualifying times for their races and then it all goes pear-shaped in the race, and not, if we're honest, not exclusively because of other people's bad driving. If you could drive consistently enough and fast enough and had good pace, those dirty drivers wouldn't be so much of a factor. I just want to touch briefly on what you saw there in the race, because this is also a race pace, race confidence issue. When I had Roslin to follow, I was in the flow state, I was in the zone, I was driving well, minimal, very minimal mistakes, very happy with my pace. The moment he spun, all of a sudden, the nerves of leading a top split race at a track I don't like, and the very fact that I don't have someone to follow, all of a sudden my race pace dropped off like a stone. And you probably won't see it unless you're at a certain level, but I start making lots of mistakes and the lines are wrong and I'm over braking and it just goes bad. The race still works out good, but Manuel Rodri, who is faster than me, and he should catch me anyway, I respect that, but he catches me far easier than he should do. And this is my race pace issues because of Nordschleife, because of reasons referenced earlier. But the way to fix this, not going to fix this from time trialing. This is only going to be fixed from racing. So what I'm driving at, and this lesson took me far too long to accept to myself. Not far too long to acknowledge, not far too long to know, because in truth, you probably already know this in your heart of hearts yourself. But what took me far too long to actually accept and implement is that you need to be doing roughly 70-80% racing to 20-30% time trialing. Time trialing is for setting a qualification lap, and it is a very convenient, practical way to fix specific corners. Again, go back and watch my Ghost time trial video for details on how to do that. But what it shouldn't be is a way to find race pace, because it won't translate for so many reasons that we've only just briefly touched on. And I think you know this. I think anyone who is in this rut knows that this is true. When you do too much time trial, the root cause of which is a fear of racing through one reason or another, and probably multiple reasons of fear of racing, and you eventually get that time trial lap that you are happy to go racing with, that you feel is going to give you a solid starting position in your races, you create the very thing you are afraid of. Because you don't have race pace now, you have literally created a situation where you have put incredible pressure on yourself, the weight of self-imposed expectations, because you know you have a strong starting position is very high, and you don't have practice race pace, you don't have enough experience racing, and you create the very thing you are afraid of. Now, it's absolutely true, you might get taken out by a certain driver and something might have gone bad and you blame them, and you're not wrong to do that. But did that situation exist in the first place because you weren't fast enough to stay in the top 3 where it is generally safer? Would that situation have occurred if you had better race pace and could have pulled away from the individual behind that sent it up the inside? Would that situation even have happened? So, when should you go racing? When is the right time to go racing? Let's talk about that. The right time to go racing is when you know the layout of the track, you know which way the corners go, you know what the corners look like, you know the track on the most basic fundamental level. Of course, if you don't know the corners at all, you've got to spend some time in time trial just so you know what is coming next. Secondly, and by extension, you need to know the basic breakpoints. I will be doing a video on how to find a perfect breakpoint, but in the meantime, track guides, replays, talk to experienced drivers on Discord. Once you know those two things, that is the right time to go racing. Why don't you go racing at that point? If you're honest with yourself, it is fear of not performing. It is fear of not being able to finish or start and finish where you believe you are entitled to. And I use that word very, very carefully, and I'm not implying on any level that you are an entitled person, whoever I'm talking to. What I'm saying is you do see yourself as a fast B driver or a slow A driver. Whatever you see yourself as, you will make sure you have a qualifying time that matches that. And that's leading to these bad races. So the moment you know the layout of the track, which way the turns go, and the moment you know the breakpoints, that is when you should go racing. Are your races going to go any better than if you set a qualifying time for 2 hours first before you went racing? Probably not. And to prove that, I have this week and finally this race. So I jumped into this race on Monday morning with literally 1 minute 20 seconds of practice. So I don't think I'd even made it through the second sector of the GP track. And I jumped straight into a race. I didn't qualify. And on this topic, you can refer back to my racecraft videos for different ranks, where we'll talk about how to approach a race and how to deal with the bad driving standards, etc. So I don't want to get into that here. I didn't qualify. I went from the back because I know those two things about this track. I know basically where to brake and what's coming next. My first 6 races of the day, I kid you not, they all went on varying levels badly. Why? Well, I got penalties, I spun, I hit someone and had to wait for them, and when I did start setting qualifying laps, which was literally just what I could squeeze in between races, okay, here you don't have time to set a qualifying lap, so I missed one race to set a lap. I then started every single race, I got either hit or pushed at turn 1. In top split. At no point did I get full on taken out at turn 1, but I lost a position in every single race, at least one position, and was on the back foot because of other people's sending it into turn 1, basically. Let's put it bluntly like that. So those races still went bad for me, which they probably also would have gone bad if I'd spent a long time in time trial. So you're going to get bad races regardless, right? Whichever way you do it, you're going to get bad races. The difference is that 2 hours in time trial versus 6 hours racing, one of them is developing race pace, one of them isn't. So when it did come to peak time of day, it's later into the afternoon, early evening, it's getting more competitive, and I now want to have a solid starting position. And you saw I started this race in P3. That's when I missed another race, set in a good time trial lap. That lap now comes a lot easier, because you have found your pace in the race. And that's why all of a sudden, finally, on I think the 7th race of the day, it all starts to click. And I actually commented to Digit and Digit's chat in stream and said it's finally starting to come together. I'm finally starting to find the race pace. Incognito there, I reference his respect as a driver. He went for a move, didn't mean to push me wide, but he did, and he returned the position. So that's really nice to see. Thank you there. Back to the topic at hand, it is most important to overcome the fear and nerves of racing and just go race. Time trialing will go so very differently to what you are currently used to if your major time trial session for the week, where you really try to push the time trial and get the best lap that you're going to get that week, if you do that after 2 or 3 days of racing, it will be a completely different experience to what you are currently used to, and that 1 second that you're looking for at B rank or C rank or whatever, you will probably find it purely from having raced. Let's be honest with ourselves. The reason we don't go racing is because we're afraid of racing through various causes, one reason or another, multiple reasons, and we're afraid of losing driver rating. These are the fears that you have to overcome, and if you can't let go of them, like I can't, I'm a human, I can't switch them off, so that's going to be a variable ability in different people. If you can't just switch those fears and anxiety and nerves off, then you have to just accept them and get on with it. Accept that you are going to have bad races. Accept that you are not going to perform the way you know you are capable of. I said that in the beginning of this video. We're talking about finding the race pace that you are currently already capable of. And you're not getting it, you're not performing, you're not finding it. You've got to let go of that fear of bad results, of that fear of bad races, and get on with it. Truth is, as the average guy watching this video, Joe Blogg's average guy, B rank driver, A rank driver, C rank driver, honestly, no one cares if you have bad races. The only person that cares is you. As someone in the public eye with a role in the game, I'm a coach for Digit Racing, I'd argue that's not true. I can't perform too badly too much, otherwise that's going to reflect badly on my abilities as a coach. But for you guys, it doesn't make any difference. No one cares how badly you perform. No one's going around going, oh, did you see John Smith? He was really slow, ha ha ha. They don't care. They really don't care. People care about themselves, and that's it. So the pressure to perform, the weight of self-imposed expectations is exactly that. It's self-imposed expectations. And protecting driver ranking is also dramatically holding you back. So if you're a B rank driver and you know you struggle to hold B, then protect that account. Have a separate account and only use that account when you are up to pace. If you're an A rank driver, same thing, A plus driver. If you're an A plus driver at a good combination and you're an A rank driver at a combination you don't like, by all means, protect that A plus account by only racing when you are up to pace. But don't avoid racing. Go and race, even if the account you race on is lower ranked than what you are capable of when you're up to pace. You need that race experience. And that brings me to the final comment, which is don't avoid your weak combinations. Now, this is subjective to a degree. I'm not telling you how to play the game. If you play the game casually and you don't want to worry about pressure and you're limited on time and you're not laser focused on being the best driver you can possibly be, play the game how you want and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But let's assume that you are someone who wants to maximize your potential. That would be every single coaching student I've ever had, and the vast majority of people that I do talk to outside of coaching, either YouTube comments or Discord. Avoiding your weak combinations is only holding you back. So if you focus on your strong combinations, you don't stand to gain as much as if you actually focus on your weak combinations. By strengthening your weaknesses, you will become a stronger driver. That is a principle I have applied ever since I started this. I never avoided my weak combinations, save for maybe Nurburgring, ever. Even as a C, B ranked driver, I focused on my weaker combinations, and principally I focused on race C, because race C will also teach you race pace in a way that race B doesn't, because C normally has tyre wear, fuel load, and bottom line is you need good race pace to finish in the top 5, whereas in a much shorter race you can finish in the top 5 through a good qualifying time alone and the sheer amount of carnage that will take place behind you. So for that reason, race C is also much better for teaching race pace, as well as focusing on your weak combinations. You see a race you don't like, that's time to get stuck in. That's not a time to avoid it. Alright guys, thank you for listening to me talk waffling for 20 odd minutes. If you've got any questions, please hit me up either on Discord or on YouTube, and I hope this is of help. And I would like to stress that these concepts are what I do myself and are a fundamental reason why I have achieved the level I'm at. I'm not necessarily more talented than you, I just work at it in a slightly different way to what most people do. Thank you guys very much for watching. Catch you later. Take care.